Welcome to our 6th video in our PHP and MySQL series, where we shall be looking at updating records from the database. We shall be able to use the form that we created in video 1. Make sure that you watch all the previous videos to be able to follow these appropriately. So let's get started by creating a new file. So you'll go to File, then New, then we shall save it as update.php, and we shall save. So we shall start by first putting the HTML syntax. So you type HTML, it will pop up, press the enter key. So this will be our starting point. So our update will require retrieval of the records from the database as we have them right here, and displaying them on this form so that we are able to make updates on them. You remember in the previous video we looked at students report, that is retrieving, as you can see here in the 5th video. So today we shall be able to update these records by retrieving them to this particular form. So the fact that you already have the form created on our file that we named students.php that we created on our first video, so we shall simply go and copy that particular form and we carry out some modifications. So we shall copy from this point where you see the body around here. So we shall copy up to this point, copy, then we shall move it to our file right here, then we shall be able to paste it right there. Okay, so we shall perform some modifications. First of all, we need to remove this PHP code. This is what we used for inserting. This time we are retrieving, so we shall first remove that so that we remain with only the form, as you can see right here. So if you can go and test this by refreshing, you should be able to see the form that we have just created. So you go to localhost, the name of the folder, and the file name that you created, which is update.php. So this is where our modification will take place from. So let us carry out some small modifications on this. So we shall start from the form to do some modifications, or we can even start from the title right here by giving the new name, which is students. You can call it student update. Okay, then we shall also perform some modifications on our form. We shall say that the form action will be what should happen when they click on our form. Okay, so we shall write a short PHP code here. So we shall say PHP, then we shall echo HTML entities. So meaning we shall have some HTML elements somewhere, and this will happen through our server, and therefore we shall have the PHP self action. So type here PHP underscore self, then we shall close this PHP tag right here. Okay, then the method will remain as post, because when you click on the submit button, which we shall rename this time to update, then that particular content should be able to be posted to the database where we retrieved it from and updated accordingly. Okay, so we shall also carry out some small formatting on our field set. So we shall give it some small style. So we shall remove this. Remember, when you're doing inline styling, we say that you do it from the opening tag. Okay, so we shall type there style, and we shall give it the border radius of 5 pixels. That is, we want to create some small curve at the edges of our field set such that it doesn't look a square as we see right here. We want to make this a bit round, these particular edges here. So that's what you're trying to do here. So we shall make it 5 pixels. Then we shall also give our field set some kind of the title. So we shall use what we call legend. So you write legend, and in between there we shall say update student information. So update student information. Okay, so this will be able to give our field set some kind of filling right here. So because we have not yet completed, that's why you are seeing this kind of error, but we shall update it accordingly. Okay, so let's continue. So save changes. So here we're supposed to say echo. Okay, so we didn't complete that, we didn't type that very well, so supposed to be echo. So this is what I was talking about, which is update students information. That's what we have just typed here under legend. Then these particular borders, we have given it a border radius of 5 pixels, which is the distance from the center here. If you make it 50%, then you'll create something circular. If you make the border radius 50%. So let's proceed with the remaining content. Okay, so the legend is what you're seeing right here, Okay, so let's proceed to our table now. So we shall center align the table. So we shall put it at the center by putting the opening tag for the table. So we say center. Then we terminate that at the end of the table, which is somewhere down here. So I want to center align that particular table. So this is the closing tag of our table. Then we can also apply some HTML properties plus some CSS properties to our table. So we shall say our table will have a width of 600, table width, and say 600. Then background color, BG color, we can say light gray or any color of your choice. So light gray, then sorry, this is supposed to be a table property. Okay, so we are going to shift it right here, not in the alignment. So we close the tag, rather double quotes. So the width of our table will be 600 and the background color light gray. So we can also go ahead and give some styling still to our table. So we can say that the style, that is the border radius, should also be 5 pixels. So we can say style border radius we can say 5 pixels, so that it can blend very well with our fill sets. Okay, so that is the table. As you can see, we are giving it a gray background and also the border radius of 5 pixels, so that it can have these curves that you're seeing right there. So let's proceed. So we shall also carry out some modifications, meaning we shall write some codes that will help us to retrieve the values that we have on our database. Therefore, we shall replace the placeholder with another property that we call value. So you'll type your value, and which value are we talking about here? We are talking about retrieving the registration number. So you'll put the opening tag, question tag, then PHP, then we echo. So echo is a function that is used in PHP to retrieve records, and we shall do this a little bit later after writing the PHP code, because if we start with it now, you may get some small confusion. So let us just leave it with a double quote now, and we first write the PHP code for updating. Then we shall go ahead and have the retrieval here. Okay, because we need to first fetch those values, then after fetching, that's when we can be able to update. So let's first write the PHP code. So the PHP code this time, we shall write it somewhere above this. Doesn't matter. What's important is that we have named our page or our file is a PHP file. So anywhere where we write the code within this, it will be understood. Okay, so every time you're writing the PHP code, you start with the opening tag, which is less than symbol, question tag, and PHP. Then you press the enter key and terminate immediately before you forget. Okay, so we shall start by establishing the connection like we did previously. So we shall say require once. We want to use our connect page to be able to connect to our database. So connect.php, which is this, what we did right here. So like we said previously, instead of writing all this code, we simply use the require once function to be able to utilize it from this particular page where we want to use it right here. So connect.php, then you terminate this with a semicolon. Then this time we need to use the ID. We shall use the ID to be able to retrieve that. So you'll say reg number, that will be our variable name, equals to, this time we're using the get function because we are retrieving. So get, what are we basing on to get this? We are basing on the reg number. So we are basing on the reg number to get this or retrieve the records from the database, as we shall see later. So when you look at our database here, we have the registration number here, which is the primary key. So we shall use it to specify given records from the database as we are retrieving. Okay, so that is what this line will do. Okay, so we proceed with the rest of the lines. So we shall write a query to select these particular records from the database. So we shall put the variable query such that we are able to write the query in form of a string that will help us to select these values from the database, where the registration number is equals to the registration number that we'll have clicked on in our update link. So we shall say select all. So all is represented by asterisk, all from the name of our database is, rather the name of our table is students right here. So to avoid issues, you can as well copy it from here. So we have established the connection to the database. Now we are selecting records from that particular table, which is part of that database. So we're selecting everything from the table called students, where registration number, where the reg number is equals to the value that is being carried on this particular variable here. Okay, this will help us to pick that particular ID and use it to search a specific record from the database. So where the reg number is equals to, so we shall use the single quote to the value that is being carried by this particular variable. Okay, reg number. So we have written our query. Okay, now the next step is we want to get the results. Okay, so we can say results is equals to MySQL underscore query So this will happen through the connection string, that is connect. So this particular variable, you may be wondering where it is. Remember, we established the connection to the database, and this particular connection variable is right here. So it's the one that we are using right there. Okay, so it will help us to establish that connection, and after establishing the connection, we utilize this particular variable to select that specific record from the database. So therefore, we shall have this particular variable, which is query, right there. Then we can terminate it. Okay, so we have established connection to the database, then we have selected particular records, but now we need to actually retrieve them and display them on our form. So we shall call this row. The variable row equals to MySQL I fetch MySQL I underscore fetch associated values. Okay, values associated with that particular connection string that you have written, which is results, this variable. Okay, so whatever we shall pick from here should be fetched and displayed on our form. Now we want to make sure that these particular records that will be displayed are not submitted when they are null again, just like we did when we're inserting the records. So we shall again use the iset function to be able to achieve that. So how shall we do it? We'll say if iset, okay, if iset post, meaning that now when you're posting this record, when somebody clicks on the post function, what should happen? So if iset post update, we shall rename our button to update later. Update. So when somebody clicks on our button update, what should happen? Okay, that is what this means. If somebody clicks on that button, what should happen? So we shall modify the button later right here. So we shall change it from register to update. Okay, so but let's first complete this PHP line. Okay, so if somebody clicks on that, what should happen? So we shall open HTML tag, then we write the lines there. Okay, so we shall write another query. This time we shall call it query 2. So we shall call it query 2 to be able to perform that activity of update. Okay, so we shall give it the string. So you'll say update students. Okay, update students, meaning the name of our table. Update students by setting the registration number to the value that we shall be posting. Okay, by setting the registration number to the value that we shall be posting. So we are going to use single quotes for this. Okay, so you'll put the post function right there, then the square brackets and the name of the field from which you're posting this value. So we shall say reg number. Okay, so we shall just paste this same particular code here, that is this section, such that we can be able to save time. So we shall only be renaming this. So you can copy from this part. Okay, this was for reg number up to where we have the end of the single quotes. This. So we copy, put a comma right there at the end of the single quote, then you paste, and now the variable we are setting next is student name. Okay, so you call this student name right here, and also change this to student name. So this is based on what you're seeing right here. We have the reg number, we have the name, then we have the program next. Okay, so you put a comma, then you paste, and what we have next is program. So you also type program right there as the name of the field to submitting to. Okay, then we have put a comma, paste, we have gender, So we rename this to gender, and this to gender as well. Okay. Then finally, we still have the calendar somewhere. Okay. So you put a comma. Then you say calendar, and you also rename this to calendar. Okay, so we are updating the table called students by setting the registration number to the new value that we'll have put there, the student name to a new value that we'll have put there, but on condition where, okay, where the reg number is equals to what we are posting right here, this one. So is equals to, put the $, post, then you say reg number. Okay, so this is supposed to be inside the square bracket. Okay, so where the registration number is equals to this registration number that we'll have typed here. So you're updating that particular record. Okay, so this is our query that will help us perform that. Okay, so you put a comma, rather a semicolon, then you press the enter key, and you say updates, create another variable called updates equals to MySQL query, MySQL query. So which query are we looking at here? So we are looking at the connection. We are looking at the connection to the database, which is connect, and then our query 2, which will help us in updating our records. So this is query 2. Okay, then you put a semicolon. Then we shall say that, okay, if we update successfully, so you say if update, meaning if this particular line is executed successfully. So if we update successfully, what should happen? Okay, we should relocate. We should relocate to the report. So you can say header, then you put the string there for relocation in double quotes. So we can say location, meaning that when you click on the button update, it should be able to take us to the report to show that actually it has done the update. Okay, so you'll say location, then full colon, then the name of your page which has a report. So we called our students report.php. So students report.php. So when you click submit the changes or update, it will be able to redirect you to this particular page. Okay, so you put a semicolon right there. Else what should happen? Okay, else what should happen? Okay, so what should happen if that is not true? We echo string. We shall give it heading 2, and the style, this time with the single quotes because we already have the double quotes enclosing. So we shall say the text color should be red, warning you that something is wrong somewhere. So the color we shall say will be red. Then of course we put the semicolon here. Then the background color, should be light gray. That is when our records fail to submit, we should be able to receive this particular error message in case we fail to submit the records to the database. So we also put a semicolon right there. Okay. Then the text that we want to be displayed if the error message occurs, which text do we want to see right there? Okay. So we can say we are very sorry. We can say we are sorry the records, the data could not be submitted. Okay, so that is the error message that we can put there. Then we can be able to terminate that. The heading 1, H2. Okay, so our opening tag was here, so this is the closing tag for that. Okay, so that is the part of the error message, just in case that happens. Okay, so that is our PHP code. So now we need to carry out some modifications on our form as well, so that we are able to retrieve and display these records. Okay. So let's carry out the modifications further, like we had started earlier here with the value. Okay, so we shall put the PHP tag here, PHP, then we close it immediately to avoid issues of forgetting. Okay, so we shall echo the row. Remember the variable that we had for fetching our records from the database. So we are basing on the we are retrieving the registration number here, so you can say reg number right there. Then you can terminate this by putting the semicolon. Okay, so now we can copy this and paste for the name as well, and we just modify it. So we copy from that point up to where we have this, from the quotes here up to that point of values. So we also replace this placeholder here with the value, because that's what we want to be displayed. Okay, so we paste it here, then we change this to student name. Okay, so we'll say student name. So we have student's name also retrieved right there. Then we shall also look at program. So for program is also right here. So we need to also retrieve it and update that particular record. So we shall copy this entire row. And we shall be able to overwrite all this, paste it here. Then we shall say this is program, and then the input type will remain text program, then the value here we shall also say program. So just like we have it here. Okay, so this is program. Can also make this program. Program. Okay, so we have created this particular retrieval code right here to be able to retrieve our records and display on the form. We shall be able to test shortly. So we can also change this, like we said earlier. You can change the name here to update. Then we change this also to update. So this is what will appear on our button. So this update is what you're seeing right here. Update right here. Save the changes and do the testing and check if there are some special characters that will have left out. But before we do the testing, we need to write the code that includes the column for updating our records on this particular page, which has our report right here. So after having written this PHP code and also carried out the updates as we have right here, that is for retrieving these particular records from the database, then you should be able to establish the connection to our report form. That will help us in updating our records. Okay, so how do we do that? So we are going to write those particular codes. So make sure that you observe carefully the field names, the typing errors and all that, because in most cases they can cause stress, most especially if you don't pick them very well. If you type wrongly, it may cause you some bit of enormous stress. So let's pause a bit. So let's continue with the update by going to the report page. Then we include another row which will have our column. So we include another value that will have the column for us to be able to update these records. So we shall have that right here. So we can have another column for updating right here. So you need to have also watched the video where we retrieved the records from the database. Okay, so we shall add in here table heading, and we say update. Then we come down here and we give it the values for the update. Okay, so we shall echo table data, then we close the tag. So it's always important to open and close the tag immediately such that you don't forget. So we are going to write the code right here which links to our update page. So we shall also use the echo function to be able to get that. So we shall use the link, so a hyperreference equals to, then backslash, okay, then you open the double quotes, then you say update, that is the name of the page that we are working with. So you open the double quote, then you say update .php, which is the name of our page where we have the update codes. Then you put the question tag, and here we are using the reg number to be able to do that. It is the one that we are passing to the next page. So equals to, then you open the quotes, that is the double quote, then you put dot, our variable which fetches our records from the database called raw. Right here we use it to fetch that particular ID from the database in the field called reg number. So you have reg number here. Then you put the period right there at the end of that. Then you open the double quotes, backslash. Okay. So this will be able to pass our ID to the next page and help us to retrieve and update those records. So you say update. So this is the value that will appear there. Then we terminate the link, put double quotes right there. Okay. So this is update, not ipdate. So it's update.php. So we can save these changes and first go and check on the report to see if this has come in. Okay. So as you can see, we have our link here, such that when we click on it, it should be able to open for us the other form. Okay, so that is what you have just created here. So let's test and see. So you click on update, you can see it has retrieved the name. So from our report, so we can change this to John Mann. Well, then you put any date here. We can type 2004. Then we update. Okay, so successfully connected to the database, but it is showing us something that is undefined. So we should be able to rectify that shortly. So when you are capturing these particular records, when you're doing the updates, make sure that you fill in all the records. Remember, we defined here the iset function, which makes sure that everything that we type there should be available for the update to be able to take place. So it is right here. So if you leave anything blank or null, it will show you the error. For example, undefined. So make sure that when you're capturing these particular records, you fill in everything. Okay, so for example, we want to update this particular record. Click on update, then you can say maybe this person is called Kathy. Then you say this is female, then you give the date of birth, you can say 1999, then we update the records. So it will drive us back here. As you can see now, it is updated. So make sure that when you're capturing these records, you fill in everything. Otherwise, you will receive some error message. For example, if I try to submit this, you can see you'll get this error simply because you have already set this function right here to make sure that no value remains null when you're posting the update. So make sure that you remember that always. Otherwise, if you fill in everything, you can say this is Akelo, Agnes, and you put this is female, then you put the date of birth. All fields are filled. We say 1989. Okay, so when you update with everything filled, it should be able to update your records successfully. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned to our last video for deleting the records from the database. Thank you.